to Ephemera. I am fantasy author Katie Brisky.
And I'm editor Jen R. Albert. We hope you're enjoying our theme music courtesy of Alex White. Welcome to anyone joining us for the first time, and welcome back to those of you who have visited our virtual home before. For those who are new, Ephemera is an award-nominated reading series chaired by Katie and myself.
Pre-COVID, we held events in the Glad Day Bookshop, and we are thrilled to enjoy your camaraderie right here on YouTube. And we would like to begin tonight by acknowledging that the land on which I live and work is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. This land is covered under Treaty 13 and is part of the Dish with One Spoon.
And the land on which I live and work is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas, and is covered with the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant. Additionally, this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase, 1792, between the Crowns and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Our theme today is camaraderie, a word that means mutual trust and friendship, often between those in close association or people who share space. This is not a word we often use when we're talking about the relationship between Indigenous people in Canada and settlers. Colonizers don't really know how to share space. They were more concerned with taking land, taking resources, taking important pieces of cultural identity even. The Royal BC Museum in Victoria is this week working to return a totem pole to the Newhalk Nation, but only after the First Nation fought them for years for the return of the item, even filing a lawsuit against them. The totem pole was carved by hereditary chief Snooks Yeltwa Derek Snow's great-grandfather, Louis Snow, in the 19th or early 20th century. And it was the entrance pole at his family's log house in Teleomi. But it was lost when the group relocated to Bella Coola to evade the smallpox epidemic in the early 1900s. From there, the totem pole was almost certainly taken as the group tried to evade the epidemic, as many artifacts the world over have been taken from their native lands for display in museums of the colonizer. Spiritually and culturally important items such as totem poles and human remains are often put into museums as if these things are things of the past, representatives of some bygone people to be gawked at or to be studied. But these are items that often have integral parts of a living and breathing culture, and that's the case here. Many have been separated from their people and from their purpose for far too long. The Newhalk Nation elected Chief Counselor Samuel Schooner says, quote, "The repatriation of cultural property is an important way of acknowledging and reconciling the unjust treatment of First Nations people have endured since contact," end quote. It took years of imploring, but the Victoria Museum is in the process of returning the pole now. This week it employed a crane to lift it through the hole in the ceiling, a big hole in the ceiling, and put it on display outside the nearby Mungo Martin log house, where it was greeted and reawakened in ceremony by members of the Newhalk Nation. From there, followed by a convoy of celebrants, it will make its way back to Newhalk territory, home, finally this week. Chief Derek Snow led the ceremony, there explaining, quote, "Our whole story and our life is in that totem pole." He's glad the pole is returning to its rightful home, saying, quote, my grandfather is coming home." It's a good step, but it's just one among many steps settler institutions need to be taking on the road to reconciliation. Whenever you can, please urge your local museums, schools, and similar institutions to enact repatriation policies that favor returning important artifacts to Indigenous peoples, particularly when it comes to spiritually significant items and human remains. And as always, please let your representatives at all levels of government know that reconciliation efforts matter to you and that they should prioritize it. We still have a really long way to go.
Thank you. And I think this is the third year in a row that we've had a friendship-themed event right after Valentine's Day.
Well, it's important to have traditions. Besides, it's such an excellent vein of fiction to explore. Give me all the found families, platonic intimacy, and lovable collections of misfits.
Hey, you know who's sort of like a found family? Prancy, the Swamp Witch, Kevin Kelp, and Plantington III.
That's true. You're so right. I bet their hijinks would make for quite a story.
Indeed, they would. But it's time to welcome our first reader. I'm so thrilled to introduce to you tonight Jenny Rae Rappaport. Jenny Rae Rappaport has been published in Nature, Lightspeed Magazine, Escape Pod, Beneath Ceaseless Skies, among other magazines. She is a graduate of the Odyssey Writing Workshop and holds a BA in Creative Writing from Carnegie Mellon University. She lives in New Jersey with her family, where she divides her time between writing and herding small children. She can be found online at www.jennyrae.com and on Twitter at @JennyRae. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I have two flash pieces to read today. We're going to see if we can get through both of them in the allotted time span. The first is Becoming Miss Pennyworth, and it was published in Nature in October 2022. When Anna arrived at the castle, the air was ripe with thunder. It wasn't supposed to rain. There'd been no thunderstorm in the original novel. Even the threat of rain could prevent the moonlit walk that Miss Pennyworth was supposed to take with the Duke. Lightning arced through the sky as she exited the carriage. Anna checked that her ball gown was straight before she followed Miss Pennyworth's aunt into the castle. "Lady Ashby and her niece, Miss Pennyworth," the majordomo crowed, and Anna curtsied to the Duke. He had golden hair, green eyes, and a dashing eyebrow scar from a duel gone wrong. "Stop gaping like a fishwife," Lady Ashby said. Anna looked at him as Lady Ashby pushed her forward. By the waltz on page 254, their eyes would lock. Her anxiety kicked in, and she forced herself to breathe slowly. Her insides felt like they were filled with jumping spiders. The ballroom was packed with silk and jewels and 1,000 candles that reflected in the raindrop-strewn windows. It stank of humanity, of perfume and sweat, and words shouted over lemonade glasses. The orchestra began to play. Lady Ashby consulted Anna's dance card and practically shoved her into the arms of her first partner. She danced. She flirted. She played the part of Miss Pennyworth to perfection. Anna downed a glass of ratafia to settle her nerves. "Courage, child," Lady Ashby said, taking the glass. "The Duke desires to dance." Anna followed her gaze as he approached them in all his golden glory. "Miss Pennyworth, I believe this dance is mine." "Indeed." They waltzed. It was enchanting. The soaring music, his hand at Anna's waist, the feel of him pressed against her, her heart hammered in her chest, and the spider started doing tarantellas. "I need some air," she said. "Come to the garden. The rain will stop." Anna allowed him to ferry her outside. There were puddles everywhere, but the sky was suddenly dry. "That's not how the book goes." "Don't be so literal," the Duke said, steering her towards the night-scented tobacco. He would kiss her there. His lips would press into hers. She would hear the swirl of violin music, and she would know that he was her destiny. The book travel experience would be everything that her parents had paid for. "How did you do that?" "Magic," he said, shrugging. "But life wasn't magic. Life was anxiety and panic and dreams long delayed." She stopped walking. "Miss Pennyworth? My name is Anna." She stuck out her hand for him to shake. He held on to it instead. "Your Christian name is Elizabeth." "Anna." "Miss Pennyworth, are you deliberately breaking character?" Of course she was. This was all wrong. Book travel was a fairy tale, a precisely calculated experience of computers and neurological sensations. It was a mistake to think that she could enjoy it. But still. "Will you show me how you made the rain stop?" she asked, letting curiosity win. The Duke grinned and snapped the fingers of his free hand. A light drizzle began. "I'm very tired of romancing ingenues." "But that's the plot." "Who said I had to follow the plot?" "Make it rain harder." Another snap, another grin, and the Duke took a step closer. The spider started to settle down. "Are we going to stand here all night?" he said. "Is this part of your programming?" It had to be. A clever algorithm, crafted to react to a book traveler gone wrong. "I'm a man with feelings." "Virtual feelings," Anna said, blinking rain out of her eyes. It felt more real than anything else that had happened tonight. "In this world, in this book, I exist, Miss Pennyworth. You're the lonely intruder here." The AI was really very good. Perhaps too good. The Duke tightened his grip on her hand. The rain had darkened his hair, and streams of water were running down his neck. It only made him more appealing. Anna turned her face up into the rain. She let it wash over her, let it consume her, until the spiders disappeared. It was nothing like the novel, but that was what made it exactly right. "Run with me," she said. Past the statuary, past the night-scented tobacco, past the entire formal gardens, they ran. Anna's dress was soaked and her feet slipped on the wet grass. It was exhilarating. "This is better than the book," she said. "I never liked Miss Pennyworth. You marry her. You carpet the church with roses on your wedding day. But that's not my story. I detest the ingenues, the endless balls, all of it. It numbs my mind, dulls my senses, makes me feel like nothing more than a construct of a man." Anna refrained from saying that this was true. "Why don't we get to choose how we write our own stories?" he continued. He wasn't real. He couldn't be real. No AI was this emotionally complex. Anna held onto his hand anyway. "Because sometimes life doesn't let us do that," she said softly. "Sometimes we need to follow the script. Sometimes we don't get a choice." The spiders tried to come back, and she pushed them down. "Not now. I'm more than just words on a page. But sometimes we get to throw the script away. Help me. Dance with me again, Anna. I won't be Miss Pennyworth when I leave. You're a million times better. None of this will be real. It's real to me. Do your magic again. Make it pour." As the storm raged, they danced. It was both real and not real, and for one moment, she believed in every bit of magic. Anna rose on her tiptoes to kiss him, to brand him, to claim him as her own, to make him remember her somehow, to give him this, even if she couldn't do anything else. She felt him smile as the rain poured down. So that's Becoming Miss Pennyworth. And then the other one I have to read is a somewhat different one, set in a secondary world. And it's called Reason to Believe. It was published by New Myths in June of 2022. The preparations begin 2 weeks before the solstice. Rhea and I gather together with the other girls in the communal room of our temple lodgings as we wait to hear our tasks. There is no reason to believe that this year will be any different than the one before, but I am apprehensive, because I am always apprehensive. There is something about it all that just sits wrong with me. I lean my head on Rhea's shoulder, and she wraps a friendly arm around me. We are assigned to sweep the ceremonial palace. We wield our birch brooms with a quiet fury, sweeping it from top to bottom and eradicating any speck of dust. The shutters on the windows are flung open, and the precious glass polished. We strew flowers through the halls, poppies, daisies, and sweet-smelling roses. The youngest girls weave garlands that they hang from the rafters and the walls. The priests follow after us to sprinkle holy water throughout. It is only then that the carpenters come to the throne room with its earthen floor. They set up their equipment, say the proper prayers, and begin to build the wooden throne. The wood has been grown and harvested for this purpose only. It would be sacrilege to use it for anything else. Rhea and I stand together at the edge of the room and watch them work. There is a beauty in their movements as they turn the ordinary into the sacred. When we grow tired of watching, we run out of the dim room and search for sunlight. It feels good to sit in the palace gardens, telling jokes and sharing temple gossip. Some of the younger girls play tag, and their laughter fills the air as they chase one another. Rhea smiles at me, I grin back at her, and we rise to our feet to join in the game. The time for planting seeds will come. It always comes. But we ignore it. Our childhood has been shorter than most. It is both a blessing and a curse to be chosen as a handmaiden. It is not an easy thing to serve our goddess. She is both capricious and cruel, bright and benevolent. We soak in the sun for as long as we can. When the carpenters finish, we gather with the other girls to plant the seeds. Softly, we dig in the earth at the base of the wooden throne. With loving hands, we plant the seeds, harvested from last year's vines. They have spent the long winter inside the temple's coffers, waiting. On the day of the solstice, Rhea holds my hand while we wait to draw our stones, hoping for a gray stone with a high number. For 5 years, we have performed this ritual, our hearts beating at the thought of what may come. For 5 years, we have tried to make our families proud. For 5 years, we have held our breath, reached our hands into the choosing pot, and counted down another year until we can leave this place. I draw the red stone. Red like the blood, red like the flowers, red like the anger that courses through my veins, red like the power of the goddess's rage. Rhea holds me as I cry hot tears. It is an honor. It is a blessing. It feels like the end of days. I try to smile through my pain. The other handmaidens follow me as I lead the way to the throne room, my bare feet slapping softly. The earthen floor is cool under my toes. I bow to the priests, kiss Rhea's cheek, and sit upon the wooden throne. Carefully I hand the red stone to the head priest. The seedlings at the base of the throne tickle my feet while I wait. The priests say the prayers. They wave candles around me and sprinkle holy water. They implore the goddess to usher in a new year of peace and prosperity. And still, I wait. There are times, we have been told. There are handmaidens who have not been chosen. There are things we are not meant to comprehend. My heart threatens to beat out of my chest as I watch the priests confer among themselves. There is nothing but the beating and the panic and the fear, and then all of a sudden, they shoo me from the throne. My lungs start to work again. Thank the goddess that I am not worthy. I bury my head in Rhea's shoulder, too relieved to do anything but shake. I must go, she says. She shows me her gray stone with its small number 2, and I have trouble understanding. For luck, she says, leaning forward to kiss my lips. I watch as she walks towards the throne. I weep as I see her hand the priest her stone. I am here and I am not here, as the priests repeat the ritual and the plants explode in growth. Red like the flowers that cover her feet, green like the vines that squeeze and squeeze, brown. Oh, I'm getting waved at. But you can read the rest of the story. There's about 4 paragraphs left. But you can read the rest of the story at New Myths, and I'll drop the link in the Zoom chat so it can be linked to on YouTube.
Amazing. And I have dropped the link on Twitter, or I will in a moment. And I know that I am just now stuck on the hook of my own cliffhanger. I feel like I have no one to blame for this but myself, but I love the difference in voices between the two.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I loved Miss Penny with her spiders, like the motif of the spiders all the way through. It was really endearing for spiders. And what a great way to start off our night of camaraderie. But I can't get the idea of camaraderie out of my head because it makes me think of our Fantastic Four friends. And it also makes me think of 2 other things.
And what are those?
Heists and quests.
Oh, I see. I really want to send them on one of these, but they're both really, really good. Which one should we choose?
Well, the audience can let us know. Shall we perform a heist or a quest tonight, my friends? You can let us know in the YouTube chat.
And while you do that, I will introduce our performer tonight. Jade NC, they, them, is a queer trans comedic performer, born and raised in Toronto. With a deep love for stand-up comedy, musical comedy, and hosting events, they've established themselves as thirsty for stage time. Jade has been featured on Just for Laughs 42 and had the honor of doing stand-up at TEDx Youth Conference in 2019. Very impressive. Their comedy focuses on their unique Black queer experience, and they're also trans, and they add diversity to the very cishet white lineups they're often booked on. Find them on Instagram at friendlyblack .hottie, HOTTIE. I'll put that in the chat, and become their pal if you like. Welcome, Jade.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. I'm just gonna pin you.
Oh, cool.
And we are.
All right. Hi, folks. I'm Jade. As our wonderful host saying, I am non-binary. Tonight, I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about myself, and then I have a song prepared for you. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm non-binary. Something I've noticed about being non-binary is that the options on forms are getting a little more inclusive towards our kind. There used to be just the 2 options, and now I've noticed that there's 3. So instead of just male or female, it will say male, of course, still first, we're getting there, and then female, and then prefer not to say, which, like, I guess I'll select, but I just want to be clear that I don't identify as a secret. Yeah, like, I wouldn't say that my gender is, in fact, it's quite the opposite. I'm kind of like a vegan. I really like to tell everybody about my gender because I can't find it. I don't know what it is. It's not really there. I think a lot about the trans experience and the wording that we use to discuss it. And I'm not really sure how I feel about the wording identify as, about that kind of terminology, because I don't feel that I identify as non-binary. I am non-binary, right? I more so identify as a slut, but that's just to save people time as they get to know me. You know, it's just to kind of make sure they know what's going on in front of them. Which if you saw my outfit, you'd laugh and think they know, because I'm wearing a cheetah print onesie that's booty shorts and it's still winter. And that's also very kimono of me, I guess. What else? I'm also bisexual, which you know, because my hair is green and I have a septum ring, and I'm incredibly attractive. Most bisexual people are. That's my gender. Hot. That's my gender. Got it. Yeah, I'm bisexual, but as someone who has experienced dating people across the gender spectrum, I have a harder and harder time dating cis straight men. I would say that dating men to me is kind of like doing cocaine. And I'm approaching 30, so you know, I'm really looking at my habits, right? And it's like I do cocaine or I date a cis man, and I'm like, Jade, are you doing this thing because you enjoy it, or have you just not heard from your dad in a while? Like, where's the need for this coming from? Is how I'm starting to feel about both of those habits. My boyfriend's downstairs cooking me dinner, so I hope he heard that. Yeah, I have a good time. I think one of the reasons that I do tend to date men is also because I'm very, very familiar with queer imposter syndrome, as I like to call it, the queer imposter syndrome that I can pretty confidently say most of queer femmes face at some point in their life, where we just wonder about the validity of our queerness based on several factors: how we dress, our gender expression, our dating history, that kind of thing. It's a very relatable experience. And I learned just how relatable that experience was one time when I was at the house of another queer human. And we had been fooling around for about 45 minutes. And I still had this thought of like, am I queer enough for this? Like, is my sexual orientation valid enough to be experiencing this wonderful night? And I had this thought while my partner for the evening was putting a strap-on, which is an interesting time to think, am I gay enough? I mean, you know, the answer is right there. But I had that thought and I thought, okay, quick, just say something gay. So I went with, hey, is that real leather? I don't know what real leather would, I don't know if that would have made a difference. I have no idea. I just thought gaze leather, that's the one I'm going to go with. And they look at me and they stop halfway through pulling up the harness and they're like, oh no, I'm not gay enough for this. And I thought, whoa, is this contagious? Like, how did you start feeling like this now? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, it is real leather, it's not vegan. And we both laughed and then we had lots of sex. And yeah, I had a real moment there where I was like, everybody feels this way. Everybody really feels that way. And we can laugh about it now because we're still friends, which is the gayest thing of all, I think. And I really like to sleep with my friends. I enjoy it. And I enjoy it so much that I wrote a little song about it. It may sound familiar to you. I hope I don't ruin one of your favorite Disney movies. I've had a friend in me. I've had a friend in me. When the apps look pretty bare and it's been ages since somebody's pulled my hair, you can go through your phone and have a look who's there. Oh, I've had a friend in me. Well, maybe 2 or 3. I've had a friend in me. I've had a friend in me. Think of how fun this could be. There isn't much I wouldn't let my friends do to me. It's just another way that our friendship runs deep. Oh, I've had a friend in me. Do you want to be that friend in me? Some other folks might be more reserved than I am, a bit less horny too, maybe. But they don't know the benefits of friends with benefits the way that I do. So what do you say? We'd set some boundaries. 'Cause our friendship comes first, you see. You'll always mean a whole bunch to me. Oh, I've had a friend in me. You could be that friend in me. Oh, I've had a friend in me. Thank you. Good night.
Oh my God.
I'm like trying to tweet things through this event. I can't with that last one. So I'm like, I'm laughing too hard and also don't want to miss.
Oh my
anything.
gosh, yeah. I'm glad I turned the
think-
mic off.
I think you have forever improved that song for me. So thank you very much.
Absolutely very relatable. Thank you so much.
Well, we have many friends and many laughs. I feel like we're primed for either a heist or a quest. And according to the audience, which are we going on?
A heist. Are you surprised?
I absolutely am not, but I'm delighted. And we shall get our direction for our heist from a mysterious gruff figure in a local tavern to find out what precisely we are going to steal. Or perhaps we can use this mysterious item generator, which, hold on, let's pull it up. It's very mysterious. Okay, we only need to generate one item. Feline's necklace of blocking negation. I love it. It matches my bow tie. Okay, that's what we're heisting. We're heisting Feline's necklace of blocking negation.
Okay. Wait, this is a heist. So everyone needs a role. What is our role going to be? The host role. Are we going to be the muscle? Are we going to be the mastermind? Or are we going to be the comic relief? Audience, I think we need your votes on this one.
And while you vote, it is my pleasure to introduce our next reader. LP Kindred, he, him, is a Chicagoan Angelino writer, editor, podcaster, and teaching artist of speculative fiction from the intersections of Black and gay identities. An alum of Hurston Wright, Bona, and Clarion workshops, Kindred's works are featured in Apex Magazine, the Carnegie Hall website, LeVar Burton Reads podcast, Via Literary Magazine, Speculative City, Escape Pod, and elsewhere. LP is co-founder of Haudenosaunee, a grassroots collective addressing the isolation and underrepresentation of Black creators in the speculative communities. Kindred is also a co-host of a writing podcast, Just Keep Writing. When procrastinating, on his collection of novellas, both, you can find him on That Damned Bird app, Influencergram, and Clock app at LP Kindred. Welcome, LP, and that was one of the most pun-filled bios I have read for a long time, so thank you very much for that.
Y'all gave me 100 words. That's so unnecessary. I'm so sorry.
It was excellent. Over to you.
Hey, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Should I just jump into the fiction, or do y'all want to talk about things? Like, I talk about things too.
You can go ahead and start unless you have something to say about it, frame it, or it's up to you.
Well, I do want to express a little vote of gratitude because this has been sitting in the vault for a little bit, and in the process of selecting a piece, I had to read through this one, and in doing so, I figured out how to fix it. So this is not the fixed version, but this is the prefix version, not to be confused with the prefix menu because that's different. The name of this story is We Are Legend. I hate this. I hate you. Cloud fist over cloud fist. Samuel climbs up the mountain behind Basan. Why didn't we take leap pads instead, Samuel asks. Structured magic grates against volatile combinations, Vosan says, between gulps of air. And why would we go anywhere we can't use magic? Because we are legend, says Vosan. Samuel groans, and it's unclear if it's in response to the effort or his best friend's favorite refrain. Because we are not augurs, because magic is a crutch and real men use hands and tools. Vosan pulls on the stalagmite until his foot finds the landing. He takes a deep breath and reaches for Samuel, pulling him up. Samuel looks out of the cave at Olik. Directly below in the woods of the Canaris and the river cutting between both, and the lights of the temple and the augury. The view from the serpent-shaped mountain makes home look small. Vosan steps behind him. Samuel looks to Vosan and his warming smile, curious if the vantage allows him to take up more space. Vosan catches Samuel's stare. No one in Olik knows if this is artisanship or the remains of a forebear dragon, he says, more recitation than declaration. Samuel cannot brook silence with Vosan. From the cliff's lip, Samuel turns and stares into the throat of the dragon's maw. The cave amplifies the sound of trilobite skittering, and Samuel's eyes burn from the smells of still water, unwashed armpits, and dragon droppings stagnant in the cave. With all the warning of a cobra strike, the dragon's maw sighs, humidity and sulfur. Samuel falls to his butt while Vosan teeters toward the cliff. Samuel reaches for the scabbard of Vosan's sword, pulling on it and its attached belt to steady the boy. Samuel pulls once more on the scabbard, toppling Vosan backward and sprawling onto Samuel. As suddenly as the compressed hurricane lands, the exhalation ends. The boy's ragged breathing provides a focus until Samuel speaks. I'm leaving. No, you aren't. I am on top of you. Vosan smirks down. Then get off of me so I can leave. Vosan rolls to the side. From his back, he watches Samuel contemplate the descent. Where's your sense of adventure? Pride. We are legend. Samuel squats to the cave floor, fingertips pressing against the curious carpet of bumpy protrusions that crumble beneath his weight. Samuel dog crawls to the cliff side to look down. I shouldn't have done this, he says more to himself than Vosan. Defeated, he rolls onto his back, perpendicular to his standing companion's feet. We are legend, Vosan says again. Maybe this time Samuel will believe. We are legend for very different reasons. You are the High Sensei's son, and you are descended from a champion, Vosan says, rolling over to push himself to standing. Exactly, descended from the champion turned traitor, Samuel says, arms folded atop bent knees. He turns on Vosan. But your grandfather won the tournament of 13 moons. Traitor or not, he was the champion. Why are we doing this? Am I not the best warrior in our generation? Stop asking me that. You know the answer. You still have not won the tournament, even if you will someday, Samuel says. Standing now. You are not the champion now. More a legend in training. Then ascend to legend status with me, brother, Vosan says, smirk hiding. Samuel glares at Vosan, eyes burning with irritation. I am not your brother. Inhale peace, exhale fury. I cannot be your brother and descended from the traitor. Vosan grabs Samuel by the shoulders, looking into his eyes. You are not the legacy of that man left you. That man left your father. You are what you make of yourself, and you are my family. It is less a statement, more of a promise Samuel will not resist. He looks past Vosan's shoulder into the dark beyond the dragon's maw. He looks into Vosan's eyes, joyous, hopeful, charismatic, infectious. We are legend, Samuel says, surrendering. Yes, follow that instinct, Vosan whoops. Come! Vosan marches with a determination he can barely contain. Samuel follows, running his fingers along the successive rings of pink and blue and purple that flow into each other as they pass the wall. Unease fires from his fingers to his spine while Vosan trumps forward. This cave vibrates with wild magic, a sharp contrast to the refined magic in the city below. This place reeks of chaos and potential and entropy and bloom. Augurs would murder werecubs to enter this space, but the friction between wrangled and wild magic would kill them. Were he not warrior raised, Samuel's sensitivity would allocate him a place in the augury. Grateful for untraining, he walks through the cave, with only goosebumps and the venomous swarm of dread spiders scrambling up and down his spine. Is the magic bothering you? Vosan asks. Yes, Samuel wants to say, elated by how well Vosan knows him, but he thinks better. I am not like them. You're not like them. I am a warrior in the armies of Oleg. Sam's voice rises despite himself. You will be an amazing warrior in the Olegite army, but you are also an Esper. Samuel seethes, not an uncommon experience. Inhale calm, exhale rage, centered. I am leaving. Vosan spins to cover his exit. No, I need you with me. Vosan reaches for Samuel, who ducks, throwing his back against the smooth wall of the cavern, arms folded, wild magic tingles all along his back, so he stands. You need Ita. The word drips from his tongue like tar, and his gaze finds the crunched carpet. Ita? She won't hold my confidences. Will you hold mine? I teased you about being sensitive, Samuel, in private. An earnest laugh creeps into his plea. Would you be my with you by my side, I will return as champion, and you will return as my witness. As far into this hole they've climbed, the density of the magic multiplies, like lying at the bottom of a silo as the weight of the smallest grains, a million of which crush him. We must go. Just wait to win the championship. Prove that you're the undisputed champion. Just be a child for now. A child? Is this childhood? Vosan asks, his arms flying up and voice matching. Children aren't game pieces in play to advance political agendas. Is perfection ever demanded of any other youth in Oleg? The answer is yes. The Kinar children must not incite suspicion. The were-cubs must pretend not to be predators, and Samuel must pretend not to hear the contempt when townspeople speak of him, if they speak of him, to him. Anxiety and irritation give way to frustration and sadness again. The cavern's breath blows again. Each boy stables himself against the protrusion. The stalagmite gives Samuel steadiness and blows curls into his eyes. He shifts the hair he hates because it grows in circles over a broad, flat nose, skin darker than Olegite farmers. Vosan looks back to see his friend survive. Samuel's light survives, but his resolve fades. Samuel, are you okay? Vosan crosses to Samuel and grabs him. Vosan replays his words in his head. Samuel pulls away. Dumb strikes Vosan's face. He holds Samuel above his elbows. I'm sorry. Samuel tries to shake free, but Vosan won't let go. Look at me, Sammy. Look at me, Vosan says again. I'm sorry. The last apology is little more than a whisper as it disappears into Samuel's mouth. Vosan's arms slither around Samuel's back, confident as a snake. A promise Samuel doesn't even try to resist, melting into Vosan. In these moments, Samuel forgets when Vosan claims the pain of status in front of someone who has none, forgets that nickname belonged only to his mother, forgets the very public romance between Vosan and the praetor's daughter, Ita, the jokes about those who inhabit the augury with no power besides alleged magic and lying beside whomever they'd like Vosan, like Samuel. Samuel's heart swells and the electricity from the kiss quiets the wild magic-inspired goosebumps. In this kiss, in this embrace, they are one, not brothers, never brothers. I'm gonna stop there.
Oh, that was it was so incredible. It actually broke our Twitter timeline while we were.
What?
I tweeted it saying, welcome, LP, and then it vanished. It was just too awesome. So I retweeted.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that was amazing though. I love how at the beginning, I was like, oh, this is delightful and fun and frolic. And then my heart got broken at the end.
I know. It was such a magnetic reading, so you're so good.
Yeah.
There's more break. I figured it out. I've broken the code. I'm very excited about it. So hopefully.
I can't wait to read it because that was incredible.
Beneath ceaseless skies, I'm coming for you.
Right. You heard it here first, Ephemerites. Cool. But what is our role going to be on our heist?
Oh, right. It looks like we are, of course, the comic relief. So the setup always takes a long time in like heist stories, doesn't it?
It sure does, but we're on our way now. As we break into the secret lair of the wizard that owns the feline necklace of blocking negation. Luckily, Prancy, of course, is the muscle. So he just like takes out the dragons that are guarding the front. The Swamp Witch is the mastermind, right? So she's like far away, but she's using her far sensing magic to direct us through the lair, and that's fine. Kevin Kelp is our getaway. So he's like got a boat that he's like holding because he's a sea monster for those who are unfamiliar with him. And he's like got our getaway boat ready at the end of a river that goes to the lair. And we're just cracking a lot of jokes and stumbling through, and we get right to where the feline necklace of blocking negation is. And then an alarm sounds and a werewolf comes out with a piece of trivia for us to answer as a password, clearly, to get the feline necklace of blocking negation. And it is, what is the definition of camaraderie? Wrong answers only.
That's a tough one. All
So
right,
give
wrong
us your
answers
wrong
only.
answer for the definition of camaraderie, and let's see if that will satisfy the werewolf, so we can get our feline necklace of blocking negation and find our friend Kevin Kelp in the getaway boat.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot going on
Help
tonight.
us out.
Back to you.
Well, now it is my great pleasure to introduce our final reader tonight. Ada Hoffmann is the author of the space opera novels The Outside, The Fallen, and The Infinite, as well as dozens of speculative short stories and poems. Ada's work has been a finalist for the Philip K. Dick Award, the Compton Cook Award, and the WSFA Small Press Award. And they are also the author of the Autistic Book Party Review series, devoted to in-depth own voices discussions of autism representation in speculative fiction. Welcome, Ada.
Hello. I'm very excited about in the trilogy. The Infinite was just released in January, so yay. But when I saw the theme of this reading, Camaraderie, I was like, oh, I actually want to read something else. I actually want to read something else that's not the trilogy. So what I'm going to be reading you today is an excerpt from my novelette, Irresistible, which is the one that was a finalist for the WSFA Small Press Award that you just mentioned. And you heard it here first. There have not been a huge amount of announcements about it yet, but this story will be one of the stories in my upcoming second short story collection, which is coming out from Apex Books more toward the end of the year. It's been announced like in Publishers Marketplace, but we're still being very quiet about it so far. Tiny content warning for this story. There are some references to abuse in the part of the story that I'm going to read, but there's no abuse actually depicted in the part that I'm reading. So just what's going on in this story, in this part of the story, is that our protagonist, so first of all, is a neuroqueer fairy tale, and our protagonist has been, imprisoned in this tower by a fairy king. And at the point that the excerpt begins, she has just encountered a talking otter who might be able to help her. So soon enough, Shifra's otter returned with a basket of fish in their jaw. They carefully climbed the wall of thorns that helped up the tower. Slipping between the sharp branches was an otter's deftness, until they reached the windowsill and set the basket down. Wait, said Shifra, because she remembered the rules. I must give you something in return. She set down a sparkling button on the windowsill, careful not to touch the otter, and they snatched it up. You say you are trapped here, said the otter. Is the door stuck? Do you need help finding a way down? Should I get help? Oh, no, said Shifra. It's just... She tried to find a way to describe the king that did not make him sound wicked or terribly foolish. She had many words, but she could never quite put them together in a way that suited the king. Without a button to roll between them, Her hands flapped and flailed. What? Said the otter, leaning in. Shifra had not expected them to lean in when they did, and her hand, by accident, smacked the otter's side. The otter lost their balance and went pinwheeling, trying not to fall from the tower, until at last they fell forward and straight into Shifra. Shifra scrambled backward, shrieking. The touch of a creature of fairy, the king had warned her, would immediately kill her. What? Said the otter. Did I hurt you? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Shifra shrieked back, for she had not meant to destroy herself so foolishly, and that was what the king would call her when he found her dead body, a fool. I'm sorry, said the otter, who had no idea what might have panicked this strange-looking woman, but was sure it was their fault. I'm sorry, said Shifra again, for she hadn't meant to strike the otter either, and striking another creature was terribly rude. And then there was a pause, and she looked down at her hand, where it had hit them. A creature of fairy had touched her, and she was alive. She thought she would die if it happened. No, she had thought that it would not happen because the king had built a shield to protect her. If the shield didn't even work, then what had the point been of all of those nights of pain? What is it? Said the otter. She explained. Explaining it meant explaining the king, and explaining the king meant explaining everything about herself and where she had come from. And that meant explaining what a human was to this otter who had never seen one. It went on and on. By the end of it, her throat was raw and her eyes screwed shut in frustration, but the otter listened, fidgeting, smoothing down their fur, but out of fear and concern, not boredom. The king had rarely listened to her talk so long. But, said the otter, I don't think you're not human. You said you're the same. You said you're not the same as other humans, but I'm not the same as other otters either. I fidget and talk too long, and I get too excited about naming all the different kinds of fish. I can climb a tower of thorns and not be pricked, but when I'm just walking or playing, I don't notice where rocks and updrifted clouds are, and I run straight into them. And when the other otters talk about otter things, being male and female, but never neither or both, and doing the dances of the seasons properly, and raising baby otters, it makes no sense to me. But I am an otter. I'm only a strange otter. In truth, I am very glad to speak to you, for you seem to be a strange human in much the same way. That was why I came to the base of the tower to look at you, for you were rocking back and forth out the window and back in, and it reminded me of my own rocking, which other otters think is ugly. My name is Broken. What's yours? Shifra, said Shifra. Are you really like me? I don't think anyone here is like me, but then I thought just a few minutes ago that if anyone here touched me, I would die. I've never met an otter before, or a person who's neither a woman nor a man, or a person who said they were like me. I'm not one to question kings, said Broken, for every realm of fairy has a monarch, and there is nothing one can do to stop that. I only try to stay out of their way, but your king sounds particularly unpleasant. Why don't you try to escape? I can't do that, said Shifra. Ah, but you can, said Broken. You see, if you get to the edge of the realm with your heart's desire, you can cross into a new one, and your king will have no power there. Do you know what your heart's desire might be? You seem extremely interesting, and I would like to help. I can't do it, said Shifra. She sat down heavily on the ground. Tears were coming soon, though she didn't wish to annoy the otter with them. She couldn't think about all of it at once. Touching a creature, a fairy, and surviving, questioning the king, questioning if she was human, talk of escape. And Brogan would keep talking and talking if she let them. She would have too in their place. Go away now, please. Brogan scampered out the window without another word. So, a few scenes later. Before dawn, she rose, dried her tears, and packed a few things in Brogan's basket. She slung the basket over her arm, swung her legs over the window ledge, then climbed down the tower of thorns. She was not nearly so nimble as the otter. By the time she reached the bottom, her arms and legs were bloody, but this was no unusual sensation to Shifra. She paused for a moment before the final step down. The king had said that if she set foot on the clouds, she would fall through. But he had lied about everything else, and the clouds looked solid enough to her. She closed her eyes and hopped off. The clouds came up to meet her a second later, soft, but solid, like the featheriest bedspread. She fell into them, then scrambled to her feet, and fell again, laughing with relief. A blue otter poked their nose up from behind the nearest cloud. You again, said Shiphrah. You again, said Brogan. You changed your mind. I'm so happy. I didn't mean you had to go away forever, said Shiphrah, suddenly realizing that Brogan might have thought of it that way. I only needed to think. Are you upset? Not anymore, said Brogan. Do you want to go to the next realm now? Yes, said Shiphrah, but I can't walk on these clouds, you see. She fell again to demonstrate. Brogan leapt up and belly flopped beside her. That's no problem. You don't have to walk here. You can crawl, scramble, slide on your belly. There are clouds you can even swim in. That's what otters like best. There are others that are nearly as solid as wood or stone. You can tell by sight once you've learned the trick. I could leave you to those if you prefer. But, oh, I shouldn't ask. I shouldn't even have waited here for you when you told me to go away. And I didn't know yet that you only meant for a little while. I don't mind, said Shiphrah. Can you tell me the way to the next realm? Brogan pointed west, where the clouds were slate blue in the pre-dawn light. But they said, remember, it is not so simple as that. First, you will have to find your heart's desire before the king catches wind of your escape. I have it, Shiphrah said firmly, and began to call west. May I come with you? Said Brogan. She agreed. Soon the two were crawling, slipping, and sliding across the clouds, laughing together, both talking more than either had talked in years. Shiphrah told Brogan about her family, about the king, about her love of buttons and circles, about the noises that hurt her and the noises that did not. Brogan told Shiphrah about the otter clans that lived in the clouds, about their childhood growing up with 7 litter mates, about their love of fish and food and climbing, about all their favorite fish, about the other otters, who would call them funny, then strange, then simply a terrible otter, always saying the wrong thing at the wrong moment, always saying too much, always fidgeting, never picking up on others' unspoken wants. The two found their way to a road of packed cloud, like pale sugar, and they walked on, talking all the way. Neither had ever had a friend who would listen to them talk for so long, who was delighted to hear what they said. That
I love their
is where I'm
dynamics.
stopping.
I love their dynamics so much. It's like
I think I forgot to, but I can share a link to the full story, which is up on the Future Fire. The full story does have some slightly heavier content warnings for abuse, but
noted.
if you
You should share that with the chat.
For sure.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I've
just
actually
gonna
tweeted
find
it
it.
out already too. I remember reading the story a while back. So
all
thank you.
right.
Yeah. So thank you for
Yes.
bringing it to us tonight. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And now I kind of wish I had thought of putting an otter in the lair instead of a werewolf, but you know, we make our choices in life, so here we are. So what have we learned the true meaning of camaraderie?
Oh yeah, couple great answers. I hope the werewolf will allow us to. So Grail says, a metal shaft made from punctuation as used in the milk industry, camaraderie. And Ariella says, camaraderie, a model of vintage sports car. It seats only one.
That's clever. I like that.
All right.
Well, the werewolf listens to our definitions of camaraderie and a joke that we throw in there as well, and decides that obviously we must be legit. We must be part of the wizard's wizard comrades. Here we go.
Yes.
So we take the feline necklace of blocking negation and we start to creep our way back through the lair when the wizard appears. Oh no! And it's an otter wizard. Yeah. I'm gonna throw that in right now. Luckily, Prancy jumps in with his mighty muscles on his skeletal body. The swamp witch uses a spell to find us a shortcut. We get to the boat. Kevin Kelp takes us out to sea, and we are good to go with our heist, ready to sell that feline necklace of blocking negation for untold riches.
Amazing.
But the real riches was the camaraderie we had along the way.
Yes,
The end.
that's very true. We got the magic item and we went on a delightful adventure with our friends, comrades, if you will. So thanks so much for coming. Until next time, everyone, don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Ephemera Series, Twitter for occasional updates, and of course, please subscribe to this YouTube page. If you'd like to track your adventures via planner or calendar app, please feel free to put a standing get together with us on the third Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's we're pretty regular like that. We'd like to thank the Ontario Arts Council for their funding assistance.
And as we close out tonight, we would also like to thank our fantastic readers and performer, our composer Alex White, our friends, families, loved ones, and you. Thank you for staying with us. And here's to another. Oh, that was from last month. Thank you for staying with us. And we can still look forward to a great year ahead. But now we are 1 month further into it, which means we have had 1 month's edition of delight and friendship with you all. So we'll see you next on March 15th, right here on YouTube.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.